Alright, so I'm back. It's been about a month again, and part of the reason why it's been so long is because it's sort of been hard for me to find out, what I think is interesting enough for me to say. But years ago, written down a list of stuff I think is sort of interesting. A lot of them having to do with my sort of viewpoints of certain things. This particular video is going to be about religion and politics. Excuse me. I haven't been to church in a while, and part of that, although it's not my particular church, and I love the people there. They're great people, but religious organizations in general have been having a larger and larger impact on politics, and part of me, especially a few years ago, really blamed Christianity as a whole for that. And I've sort of mellowed down, I realized that it's just a minority of people who are just sort of doing a bunch of stuff that I disagree with strongly, and I think that's going to hurt the country eventually, but there goes. But here's my sort of view on religion and politics. So, originally, my personal belief is that religion and politics should stay as far away from each other as possible. There should be a separation between church and state. But then I started thinking about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought that that's sort of a drastic way of thinking about it. That said, I do believe that it's wrong to use religion as a political mechanism. I think that's wrong, and I think that's what's happening. And that's wrong. When people try to use religion as a mechanism to gain votes and try to skew things around so that it makes it seem that just because you're voting for a candidate, you're voting for God. Vote for so-and-so because the other guy's, a Satanist or whatever. I don't think they explicitly say that sort of stuff, but they do definitely, say that voting for one candidate because of their views is wrong for religious reasons. And it gets really just bad, the stuff, political groups will say about each other based on religion. But back to what I was saying. There are two types of good legislators, I believe. And this is sort of irrelevant for one type, but for the other type, it becomes increasingly relevant. You either vote for somebody who is going to use their vote strictly to do what the people want, regardless of whether or not they think it's right or wrong or bad or is going to have bad results later. These people just vote based upon what they believe the people want. That's one type of legislator. I'm not saying that that type of legislator is good or bad. I'm just saying that's one type. Another type is a legislator who, regardless of what the people believe, votes based on what they believe is right. Will this help the people? Even if the people don't necessarily agree with it, I do believe that this is a good idea and this will help them. This is going to be good. There's another type of legislator. I think that both are needed for the success of, democracy that we have, or the republic rather. I think both are needed. You can't just have, and there are flaws with both. If you get somebody who just votes the way the people do, you're going to end up with slavery and segregation. And as a black person, I do recognize the fact that even if the vast majority of people believe that something is right, that does not make it right. Segregation was wrong. Slavery was wrong. And just because the majority at the time believed that those things were right, didn't make it so. Some legislators in the minority had to stand up and say, in Senate and the House had to step up and say, this is wrong, we have to somehow put a stop to this. It led to a war, but they had to do that. And that's why that type is flawed. The type that sort of goes along with whatever the people want. They can be wrong. The people are fallible. We always have been. Despite the fact, and this is an argument. You can argue this. You can argue against it, you can argue for it, but this is my belief. We put George Bush in office. We did. regardless of what we want to say, we put him in office. And at the time the Iraq War started, although there were a few dissenters, the vast majority of the American public did not disagree with the war originally. You didn't have that many dissenters until probably around a year or a year and a half in. When, when we were originally in Iraq and Saddam was still there, and we had just started the war, most people didn't disagree with it. We were supportive of it. As a matter of fact, if you did disagree with it, you got a lot of heat. People would say you were unpatriotic. Anyway, so back to my original point. Then, of course, you have the type of legislator that does what they feel is right. But they can be wrong. It's about whether, both people can be wrong, but for different reasons. They can abuse their power. They can impose laws that the people don't want and that are wrong, that are oppressive to the people. At the same time, if you have a government that solely listens to the will of the people, well, the people are fallible. And so you need both types. But that's just part of it. Anyway, so as I was saying, if you have legislators who vote based on their own morality, religion is probably going to be a big part of that. What they were brought up and raised to believe is right and wrong. And religion is a big part of what people believe is right and wrong. And therefore, I don't think you can sort of rip religion right out of politics. You can't. But at the same time, I do think that religion in and of itself is becoming too strong of a force within politics. And I don't really know how to reconcile these two things. It's just sort of a thought I've been having. I guess that's more or less it. Unless I can think of something else within like the next 5 seconds that I want to say about religion and politics. Well, I guess I can't. So I might post something again about this subject later. But for now, that's it. See ya.